Hello, my name is Daniel Janiczka, and this is my presentation for the subject of British culture. And my topic for today is The School for Scandal, which is a five-act comedy play by Richard Brinsley Sheridan. Let us begin then, shall we? It is a comedy of manners, or also called anti-sentimental comedy, which aims to be a realistic, satirical comedy of the society of the Restoration period. It usually questions and comments the manners and social conventions of an artificial and an over-sophisticated society. And this satirical commentary is often realized through stock characters, which are overdone stereotypes driven to ridiculous extremes. You could say that Shakespeare's Much Ado About Nothing could be considered the first of these. But the true masterpieces of the genre, and the genre itself was most prominent in the much later. And the masterpieces were written by William Wycherley, The Country Wife, 1675, and William Congreve, The Way of the World, in 1700. Just for contrast, or comparison rather, Sheridan's School for Scandal is 1777, so 77 years after William Congreve made his mark. And Sheridan successfully revived the form. At that moment, it was a bit falling. Anyway, to get to its origins. The play was formerly actually two separate play sketches, which over time evolved into one play. The first performance was in London in 1777. Pardon me, never mind. And it was authorized and printed in Dublin after author's death from a copy sent by his sister in 1788. Several editions of this play exist which vary considerably, some of which are severely amended with detailed listings of the executed improvements or changes that Sheridan himself has done to the play, which is a nightmare for editors and directors alike. For example, Lady Sneerwell's accomplice was originally her cousin Miss Verjuice, which was deleted later and most of her lines were transferred to Snake. The reception. Sheridan's contemporaries really loved it. The School for Scandal is, if not the most original, perhaps the most finished and faultless comedy which we have, said William Hazlitt, an English critic of the 18th century. Edmund Gosse called it perhaps the best existing English comedy of intrigue, and Charles Lamb claimed the comedy grew out of Congreve and Wycherley, but criticized sentimental incompatibilities, even while admitting that the gaiety upon the whole is buoyant. Buoyant. I don't know how to pronounce that word. Anyway, the plot and the character summary. A wealthy man named Sir Oliver attempts to gather information about his nephews so that he can decide which one to leave his fortune to. Sir Oliver must decide which of his nephews, Joseph or Charles, will inherit his fortune, and Joseph is amiable and well regarded, whereas Charles is known as an irresponsible spendthrift. Sir Oliver disguises himself as a moneylender, and Charles impresses him by refusing to sell Sir Oliver's portrait later on in the play. Further scheming reveals to Sir Oliver that Joseph is actually a manipulative bastard and selfish, whereas Charles is actually kind and honest, even though a little wild and irresponsible. But Sir Oliver eventually leaves his fortune to Charles. So that's just the summary. Now let us begin at the actual beginning, where the play begins with Lady Sneerwell, a wealthy widow with love for plotting and spreading rumors to make herself look better and generally get her way. She discusses in this first scene with Snake, someone she hired to forge and plant some indiscriminating letters, her plot to stop Charles, whom she loves, from marrying Maria, which is a wealthy, pretty heiress. Lady Sneerwell also conspires with Charles' older brother Joseph, the bad one, who has good credit, though, who is known for, yeah, I just said it. And because he wants to marry Maria himself for her money, whereas Sneerwell wants to marry Charles. Okay, so it's getting complicated very much already. And next scene, Sir Peter Tiazel, formerly a guardian to the brothers Joseph and Charles, complains to his confidante, Mr. Rowley. Remember his name, he's going to be important, very important later, although he doesn't take all that much space in the play itself, about his much younger wife, who is of humble origins and yet demands much money for luxurious goods from her. Um, from him, I'm sorry. Yet later still, he still marvels at how attractive she is when she argues with him. So he kind of enjoys his drama queen sort of wife. He also complains about the bad influence that Lady Sneerwell has on her. He also complains about Maria, his ward, who won't marry Joseph because she loves Charles. When Charles is obviously such a wild kid, wild card, and Charles is obviously the good guy, Joseph, sorry. And he also complains about Charles being bad deep down and Joseph being good. Mr. Rowley disagrees and argues that Charles will grow out of his wildness over time and grow into a good man. They all convene at Lady Sneerwell's for some good old-fashioned gossipry, and Sir Peter and Maria are appalled at this gossiping that takes place, and they make themselves scarce. Joseph tries to make his move on Maria in another room, but she refuses. But Sir Peter's young wife, the one who loves luxury goods, actually walks in on this and is kind of bummed because she was hoping to take Joseph as a lover herself. She sends Maria away. He makes up an excuse and tries to seduce her, as he cannot risk alienating her for social reasons. But she is unsure at best at this point. Yeah? Now Sir Oliver enters. That's the wealthy uncle. The wealthy uncle who's going to be deciding who inherits his fortune. And he talks to Sir Peter, who is also a very renowned gentleman. They rejoice at the reunion and talk about Charles and Joseph, who are Sir Oliver's nephews, therefore potential heirs, right? So Sir Peter tells Sir Oliver his description of Charles and Joseph, but Sir Oliver is not sure if social credit is everything. He wants to be absolutely sure, so he plots to test his nephew's characters to choose an heir. He goes to Charles, disguised as a moneylender. By the way, he left for some foreign land a long time ago, so neither of the brothers, nephews remember how their uncle actually looks like. So he decides to take advantage of that and, disguised as a moneylender, offers Charles, who is broke, money, but requires safeties. Charles at first brags that he's going to inherit an incredible fortune from his uncle overseas, who is actually with him in the room and talking to him. And he's like, oh yeah, it's gonna be okay, you can just lend me money, I will pay you back when Sir Oliver dies. Sir Oliver is shocked, kind of appalled, but he wants safeties. Yeah, he pretends to be a good businessman. So Charles offers him, yeah, offers to him his portrait collection, the family portrait collection. Sir Oliver is very appalled at that, but decides to see it through and bids an auction, at which he offers Charles a ridiculous amount of money for his own portrait, for that one specific portrait. He sells all the other portraits, but then Charles is like, nah, I don't want to sell this one, because it would be like betraying my generous benefactor, thanks to which I have been living this nice life, so I'm not selling that one. At this point, Sir Oliver forgives Charles because he is moved by his deeply entrenched gratitude. Now, Sir Oliver later tests his other nephew by pretending to be a poor relative who is in dire need of money. He plays a sympathetic role, and he presents good reasons why Joseph should or could help him, or why he needs help, really. He didn't, and Joseph, he waves him away, stating that him getting money from Sir Oliver on a regular basis is a rumor and has actually no money to give, which Sir Oliver very well knows is untrue. Which all takes place after Joseph almost has an affair with someone else's wife, the Sir Peter's wife. So no points for Joseph there. But there's a scene in before this where there's this sort of funny scene where Joseph gets a visit from Sir Peter's wife, Lady Tiazel, and he then like hides her somewhere behind the screen, and then Sir Peter comes in, he hides him behind the screen, and it's a really funny like a moment, but it's not that important for the overall overarching plot. Yeah, so no points for Joseph there. At Joseph's house, Sir Oliver and Charles arrive, and the brothers Charles and Joseph believe Sir Oliver to be a moneylender or a poor relative, respectively, and try to force him out of the house because otherwise he could ruin the good impression they want to make on their wealthy uncle who is about to appear. Whose appearance they do not remember anymore, of course. That's the whole point. So Sir Peter, his wife, Rowley, and Maria arrive and reveal that the man they are trying to throw out of the house is their wealthy uncle. Joseph tries to make up excuses for his behavior, whereas Charles simply feels bad and apologizes. Sir Oliver forgives Charles eventually for with the family portrait collection and points out Joseph's hypocrisy. Sir Peter's wife, Mrs. Tiazel, suggests Maria's forgiveness might be nice too, you know. But Maria refuses, saying she knows Charles is already engaged to another. But Charles doesn't get it because he is not, and he does not know where she got that idea. Lady Drama Queen Sneerwell emerges from the shadows to claim that Charles is engaged to her. But Rowley summons Snake, the one who forged the letters that Maria found, of course, who reveals that he was paid to forge the letters for Lady Sneerwell, but was also paid double by Rowley to reveal the truth. So both Lady Sneerwell and Joseph storm out, defeated, and it all ends with a nice engagement between Maria and Charles, who also becomes the sole heir. And that's the end of the plot and the presentation, but I remember there was one more... one more thing. A slide I skipped. Sorry for that. Let me have a bit of a rewind here. We talked in connection with the reception to Sheridan's contemporaries who loved it, all in all. The later audiences had a bit of a problem because the play has been criticized for some hints of anti-Semitism, for describing the character of the moneylender Moses as a friendly Jew. Oh yeah, it's a dude that Sir Oliver brings around when he pretends to be the moneylender, and he gets some advice from this moneylender Moses also on how to be a good businessman, because he's never done this before. So yeah, he brings in like reinforcements when he is testing out Charles. Yeah, and this Moses is described as a friendly Jew and an honest Israelite, supposedly suggesting that this is something special and an exception to some unsavory rule. Also, his business practices are less than exemplary. Yeah, if he gives a Sir Oliver the advice that if he appears not very anxious for the supply, you should require only 40 or 50%. But if you find him in great distress and want the monies very bad, you may ask double. Now, I vehemently disagree with any of these claims. We have to realize the context in which the historical context in which this play was written. It was written in the 17th or 18th century, which was essentially still, medieval times 2.0, really. Uh, People weren't very tolerant, quite the opposite. And, you know, the Jews really did have a bad rep then. I mean, Jesus. They killed him. And the society of that times was still very Catholic, very Christian, and had very much had a problem with the Jews because it was very in, it was modern, it was trendy back then to just blame everything on the Jews, because it's one of the reasons why comedy of manners exists. The incredible hypocrisy that was very much rooted into the society so hard that in this case, I mean, I didn't talk to Sheridan's ghost or anything, so I don't have a primary source really confirmation for this. But at this moment, I feel like he was really just saying this to counter the times and the society of that time, which was actually racist, much more than possibly, Sheridan himself, who in fact creates a positive Jew character, which wasn't a very thing to do back then. So he's like secretly anti-racist, possibly even here. But he has to be at least a little bit racist and state out that he was a friendly Jew and an honest Israelite, as if it was an exception to the rule, because in that time society, it was an exception to the rule. And the very thought was dazzling. So, yeah, it was more of an extended hand out to help the Jews' rep, a small one at that, but still, I think it was Sheridan was the complete opposite of racist for that time. Back then, everybody was racist and homophobic and all those things that we don't do today, ever. And also about the business practices, that is not a part, this simply is not a part of being a Jew or any nationality in general. This is just part of being a good businessman. And Jews back then couldn't do very much to earn money. All they could do was business. Yeah, so they did business. Just to compare that to nobility. Nobility took a long time. I'm not sure when, but I think it was like all the way at the end of the 18th or maybe even later century that nobility itself could start doing business. Nobility could not do business. That was like a dirty thing to do for the nobility for a long time. So that's why nobility, had to keep pillaging, raiding, and making beneficial marriages. There weren't all that many ways for nobility to gain money. Whereas Jews, as dirty as they were, or rather seen by the people of that time, could do whatever. And they were the moneylenders, which was a sin. But still, somebody had to do it. And because they were good businessmen, they usually had the money. So, yeah, even kings just borrowed money from them. And later on, stormed the ghetto and killed half of them just so that the debts could be erased and stuff. Not, I mean, Jews really didn't have a nice life back then. Or, I mean, they could make it nice and they had to, and they were very good at what they did. So, yeah, anyway, I was just a bit appalled at this argumentation against Sheridan, so I felt it needs some clearing up. Anyway, that's it from me for today. Thank you for your attention. And yeah, stay safe. Bye.